It has just been brought to my attention something very, very important. It's story time with Uncle Scotty. Hey, my name's Uncle Scotty, and I am the host of Storytime with Uncle Scotty. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Storytime with Uncle Scotty. And like water out of a mug, I'm about to say. Because you know why? Hydration is important. And water out of a mug can be warm, room temperature, or cold. Anything that you want, and you can still hold it in your hand. Your clean hand that you just washed for at least 20 seconds. How fun is that? Hashtag timely, topical, friendly, important information. Special thank you to our sponsor, Time. Can't have story time without time. Story time without time. Just story. Time. Spicing up stories since 1312. Now, last time on Storytime with Uncle Scotty, we were continuing our read of James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. And our friends were flying through the sky on a huge peach being carried along by how many seagulls? 502 seagulls. And they passed over this ship, and on the ship there were several officers, remember, looking up at the ship. These officers had incredible British accents. They all happened to be from the East End, I guess. They were all related to Michael Caine. Ask your parents about that one. Who is Michael Caine? Who is Michael Caine? No blinking. Sorry if that was weird. I apologize. We can take that out later. Ask your parents. Otherwise, we're going to see what's happening. They're flying through the sky. They passed this ship. Let's go on. Okay. Chapter 24. Wow. Y'all, we're on page 85 of this book. Chapter 24. High five. Chapter 24. But up on the peach itself, everyone was still happy and excited. I wonder where we'll finish up this time, the earthworm said. Who cares, they answered. Seagulls always go back to land sooner or later. Okay. Up and up they went, high above the highest clouds, the peach swaying gently from side to side as it floated along. Wouldn't this be a perfect time for a little music? The ladybug asked. How about it, old grasshopper? With pleasure, dear lady, the old green grasshopper answered, bowing from the waist. Oh, hooray, he's going to play for us, they cried, and immediately the whole company sat themselves down in a circle around the old green musician, and the concert began. From the moment the first note was struck, the audience became completely spellbound. And as for James, he had never heard such beautiful music before. In the garden at home on summer evenings, he had listened many times to the sound of grasshoppers chirping in the grass, and he always liked the noise that they made. But this was a different kind of noise altogether. This was real music, chords, harmonies, tunes, and all the rest of it. What a wonderful instrument the old green grasshopper was playing on as well. It was like a violin. It was almost exactly as though he were playing a violin. The bow of the violin, the part that moved, was his back leg. I don't have a back leg. The strings of the violin, the part that made the sound was the edge of his wing. And so only using the top of his back leg, the thigh, and he was stroking this up and down against the edge of his wing with incredible skill, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, but always with the same easy flowing action. It was precisely the way a clever violinist would have used his bow, and the music came pouring out and filled the whole blue sky around them with magic melodies. When the first part was finished, everyone clapped madly. Miss Spider stood up and shouted, Bravo! Encore! Give us some more! Did you like that, James? The old green grasshopper asked, smiling at the small boy. Oh, I loved it, James answered. It was beautiful. It was as though you had a real violin in your hands. A real violin? The old green grasshopper cried. Good heavens, I like that. My dear boy, I am a real violin. It is part of my own body. But do all grasshoppers play their music on violins the same way as you do? No, he answered, not all. If you want to know, I happen to be a short-horned grasshopper. I have 2 short feelers coming out of my head. Can you see them? There they are. They're quite short, aren't they? That's why they call me Shorthorn. and we shorthorns are the only ones who play our music in the violin style using a bow. My long-horned relatives, the ones who have long curvy peelings coming out of their heads, make their music simply by rubbing the edges of their two top wings together. They are not violinists, they are wing rubbers. And a rather inferior noise these wing rubbers produce too, if I might say so myself. They sound more like a banjo than a fiddle. Banjo sounds like, and a fiddle sounds like, just like that. How fascinating all this is, cried James. And to think that up until now, I never even wondered how a grasshopper made his sounds. My dear young fellow, the old green grasshopper said gently, there are a lot of things in this world of ours that you started and haven't wondering about yet. Actually, what I meant to say was, there are a whole lot of things in this world of ours that you haven't started wondering about yet. Where, for example, do you think I keep my ears? Your ears? Why, in your head, of course. Everyone burst out laughing. Why, you don't even know that, cried the centipede. Try again, said the old green grasshopper, smiling at James. You can't possibly keep them anywhere else. Oh, can't I? Well, I give up. Where do you keep them? Right here, the old green grasshopper said. One on each side of my tummy. That's not true. Of course it's true. What's so peculiar about that? You ought to see my cousins, the crickets and the katydids, where they keep theirs. Where do they keep them? In their legs. In their legs. One in each front leg, just below the knee. You mean you didn't know that either? The centipede said scornfully. You're joking. Nobody could possibly have ears in their knees. Why not? Because it's ridiculous, that's why. You know what I think is ridiculous, said the centipede, grinning away as usual. I don't mean to be rude, but I think it is ridiculous to have ears on the side of one's head. It certainly looks ridiculous. You ought to take a peek in the mirror someday and see for yourself. Pest! Cried the earthworm. Why must you always be so rude and rambunctious to everyone? You ought to apologize to James at once. And that, I think, what do you think? Should we do one more? Yeah? Let's do another one. I'm going to take a sip of water because why? That's right, hydration is important. Let's go on. I'm excited to hear what happens next. Feels like they're all bonding now. They're connecting. Sharing their own stories. It's like their own story time with Uncle Scotty. But it's like story time with Old Green Grasshopper. Story time with James. Story time with Centipede. Story time with Ladybug. Let's see what happens. Chapter 25. High five for Chapter 25. Chapter 25. James didn't want the earthworm and the centipede to get into another argument, so he said quickly to the earthworm, Tell me, do you play any kind of music? No, but I do other things, some of which are really quite extraordinary, the earthworm said, brightening. Such as what? Asked James. Well, the earthworm said, next time you stand in a field or a garden and look around you, then just remember this. Every grain of soil upon the surface of the land, every tiny little bit of soil that you can see has actually passed through the body of an earthworm during the last few years. Isn't that wonderful? That's not possible, said James. My dear boy, it's a fact. You mean you actually swallow soil? Like mad, the earthworm said proudly. In one end and out the other. But what's the point? What do you mean, what's the point? Why do you do it? We do it for the farmers. It makes the soil nice and light and crumbly so that things can grow well in it. If you really want to know, the farmers couldn't do it without us. We are essential. We are vital. So it is only natural that the farmer should love us. He loves us even more, I believe, than he loves the ladybug. The ladybug, said James, turning to look at her. Do they love you too? I am told they do, the ladybug answered modestly, blushing all over. In fact, I understand that in some places the farmers love us so much that they go out and buy live ladybugs by the sackful and take them home and set them free in their fields. They are very pleased when they have lots of ladybugs in their fields. Oh, but why? James asked. Because we gobble up all the nasty little insects that are gobbling up all the farmers' crops. It helps enormously, and we ourselves don't charge a penny for our services. I think you're wonderful, James told her. Can I ask you one special question? Please do. Well, is it really true that I can tell how old a ladybug is by counting her spots? Oh, no. That's just a children's story, the ladybug said. We never change our spots. Some of us, of course, are born with more spots than others, but we never change them. The number of spots a ladybug has is simply a way of showing which branch of the family she belongs to, like a last name. I, for example, as you can see for yourself, am a 9-spotted ladybug. I am very lucky. It is a fine, fine, fine thing to be. You can see James and the ladybug looking at them spots. Got to check out those spots on their back. I don't know how many spots I have on my back because I've never actually been able to see my back. But I hope it's 9. Hope it's 9 spots. Back there. It is indeed, said James, gazing at the beautiful scarlet shell with 9 black spots on it. On the other hand, the ladybug went on, some of my less fortunate relatives have no more than 2 spots altogether on their shells. Can you imagine that? They're called 2-spotted ladybugs and are very common, and ill-mannered they are, I regret to say. And then, of course, you have the 5-spotted ladybugs as well. They are much nicer than the 2-spotted ones, although I myself find them a trifle too saucy for my taste. Too much sauce. Lost in the sauce they are, those 5-spotted ladybugs. But are all of them loved? Said James. Yes, the ladybug answered quietly. They are all of them loved. It seems that almost everyone around here is loved, said James. How nice this is. Not me, cried the centipede happily. I am a pest, and I'm proud of it. Oh, I am such a shockingly dreadful pest. Hear, hear, the earthworm said. What about you, Miss Spider? Asked James. Aren't you also much loved in the world? Alas, no, Miss Spider answered, sighing long and loud. I am not loved at all, and yet I do nothing but good. All day long I catch flies and mosquitoes in my webs. I am a decent person. I know you are, said James. It is unfair the way we spiders are treated, Miss Spider went on. Why, only last week your own horrible Aunt Sponge flushed my poor dear father down the plug hole in the bathtub. Oh, how awful, cried James. I watched the whole thing from a corner up in the ceiling, Miss Spider murmured. It was ghastly. We never saw him again. A large tear rolled down her cheek and fell with a splash on the floor. You can see sad Miss Spider. Single tear. But is it not very unlucky to kill a spider? James inquired, looking around at the others. Of course it's unlucky to kill a spider, shouted the centipede. It's about the unluckiest thing anyone can do. Look what happened to Aunt Sponge after she did that. Bump! We all felt it, didn't we, as the peach went over her? Oh, what a lovely bump that must have been for you, Miss Spider. It was very satisfactory, Miss Spider answered. Will you sing us a song about it, please? So the centipede did. But first, the centipede probably hydrated. Maybe the centipede has his own mug as well. Because it's important. Aunt Sponge was terrifically fat, and tremendously flabby at that. Her tummy and waist were as soggy as paste. It was worse on the place where she sat. So she said, I must make myself flat. I must make myself sleek as a cat. I shall do without dinner to make myself thinner. But along came the peach, oh, the beautiful peach, and made her far thinner than that. That was very nice, said Miss Spider. Now, sing one about Aunt Spiker. "With pleasure," the centipede answered, grinning. And Spiker was thin as a wire, and as dry as a bone, only drier. She was so long and thin, if you carried her in, you could use her for poking the fire. "I must do something quickly," she frowned. "I want fat, I want pound upon pound. I must eat lots and lots of marshmallows and chocolates, till I start bulging out all around." "Ah, yes," she announced, "I have sworn that I'll alter my figure by dawn." Cried the peach with a snicker, "I'll alter your figure," and ironed her out on the lawn. Everybody clapped and called out for more songs from the centipede, who at once launched into his favorite song of all. "Once upon a time, when pigs were swine, and monkeys chewed tobacco, and hens took snuff to make themselves tough, and the ducks said quack, quack, quackle, and porcupines drank fiery wines, and the goats ate tapioca, and old Mother Hubbard got stuck in the..." "Look out, centipede!" cried James. "Look out!" And we will find out what happens next on Next Time with Storytime with Uncle Scotty. I've been your esteemed, pleasured host. It is such an honor to be with you during this time, Storytime with Uncle Scotty. Been your host, Uncle Scotty. Thank you to our sponsors. Time. Can't have Storytime without time. It would just be story. And don't forget to wash your hands. Tell your friends about this. Subscribe. Let me know what you want to read next. Tell me all kinds of things. And that's it.